What's up everybody, this is Danny, and today I want to talk about the Samsung Galaxy S6. And ever since I've gotten it, you guys have been hitting me up on Twitter, asking me some questions, so I wanted to take a little bit of a different approach on my first video about the Galaxy S6. So I skipped the unboxing because there were so many videos on it, but you probably will get one, maybe in a special color. So I wanted to talk about the most important things. How good is the battery life? What's the build quality like? Is the software really improved? And let's talk about the new camera. So let's not hesitate, let's get right into it. The first thing I want to talk about right away is the build quality of the Galaxy S6, because for the most part, Samsung has not done very well in this department. But I want to let you know I do have the T-Mobile variant, 32 gigabytes in the black sapphire color. The build this year has two pieces of Gorilla Glass 4 on the front and back, and some people may not like this, but trust me, feels extremely premium in the hand. The best way to describe the way it looks is maybe an iPhone 4 had a little bit of intimacy with the Xperia Z3, and you have the Galaxy S6. I chose the black sapphire color because if you tilt it in the light, you can see that the black turns to a blue color, and it's a little bit freaky at first, but I think it's a pretty cool effect, and it also happens on the front as well. The metal is nice and beveled on the side, so it's got some grip there. The buttons are extremely clickable and tactile, and it feels really good in the hand. It's actually really compact compared to the other flagships. But it's not perfect, because the problem with this glass construction is it gets extremely slippery in the hand. I mean, it gets mucky, oil, fingerprints everywhere, and it looks pretty terrible when that happens, and it actually gets really slippery in your hand. The front gets just as smudgy as the back does. Now, it's really hard to see on camera, but I do have some micro scratches already on the back of the Galaxy S6, not on the front. But I decided that I'm going to start using a case now. I have a ton of cases in hand, so I'll be doing tons of reviews on those. But right now I'm using the Spigen Slim Armor. It doesn't add much bulk at all, and I just like the way it feels in the hand, and it's got a quick kickstand on there on the back. So I'll leave a link in the description section below if you're interested in this case. Alright, so let's talk about this display. This display is a 5.1 inch Quad HD Super AMOLED display, and let me tell you, this is the best display I think I've seen on a mobile phone yet. And I know I said that about the Note 4, but think about the Note 4 screen shrunken down to a 5.1 inch form factor. It is extremely sharp. It's got great viewing angles, nice punchy colors, and it's very bright as well. The screen being 5.1 inches, I thought I was going to miss that extra real estate when I was watching multimedia because I'm used to using much bigger phones. But I found it to be a perfect size. Now, the only gripe about this single speaker is it's much louder, it's so much more improved, but you're gonna have to turn it down one notch, because if you turn it up all the way to the full volume, you're gonna get some distortion there. So the speaker is much improved from the Galaxy S5 though. I really can't say much more about this display. It is completely awesome. So the next question that I'm getting a lot is, how good is the new fingerprint scanner on the Galaxy S6? And let me tell you, it is much better than it was before. It's no longer that swipe down gesture that you got before. It's much more like Touch ID, where you just place your thumb down and it recognizes your thumbprint right away. So the fingerprint scanner is much better. So overall in design and build quality, I think it is safe to say this is the best Samsung phone that they've ever built. But it does come with some sacrifices. There is no micro SD card expansion slot, and a lot of people are going to be upset about that because now you have to buy extra storage like the iPhone. And also there is a non-removable 2550 milliamp hour battery. So how good is the battery? Before I jump into battery life, if you have the T-Mobile variant in the United States, then you'll notice that cell standby is the #1 battery drain, and it didn't make any sense, but thanks to my boy OT for Tech, he actually told me if you go into the Wi-Fi settings here and turn off Wi-Fi calling, then that will fix the problem. And it actually did, because I think it's just searching for a Wi-Fi signal all the time, looking for Wi-Fi calling. So after that fix, the battery life started improving a little bit here, and you can see that Google Play services and the screen now is the #1 battery drain. If you're a hardcore smartphone user and have the screen on to 100%, you're going to get about 3 hours of on-screen time. But if you're a normal user and you just do day-to-day tasks, checking social media and texting and things like that, you're going to expect anywhere between 4 to 5 hours of on-screen time, which I think is acceptable in this space. In my testing, I was able to go 12 to 14 hours on this battery without a charge. Now, this is the best that I've ever gotten, 5 hours plus on screen on time in almost 13 hours. But I would like to see the battery a little bit better. I wish they would have had a bigger battery in here, but the battery life is actually not that bad on the S6. If you do a lot of gaming, which the S6 does very well, by the way, and you take a lot of pictures and you're taking a ton of video, then the battery is pretty easy to drain down. So thank God there is quick charging available where you can charge about 30 minutes and get roughly around 50 to 60% charge. I'll continue to test this battery and give you an update in my full review. Next, we're going to talk about the software. So there was a whole bunch of talk about them drastically changing TouchWiz and making it simpler and better to use. Well, the first thing is it is based off of Android 5.0 Lollipop. That is fantastic, but it's not drastically different. So don't expect this huge overhaul, but they did simplify things. So if you are used to using a Samsung device, then it's not going to be that much different for you. The first thing I had to do is disable this briefing widget that is on the left, kind of like a blink feed knockoff, and that was the biggest source of my lag. But overall, this is the speediest Samsung device I've ever used. I think Samsung made the right decision when they skipped out on the Snapdragon 810 processor and put in their own house-made Exynos 7420 Octa Core processor with 3 GB of RAM. Like I was saying before, TouchWiz looks pretty similar to what it did before, but they did simplify the menu system, which I really like. It's all just streamlined there, so you're not sitting there hunting for it, and the quick settings are really easy to get to right here. And also, you can search for any type of setting that you want right off the bat. So I like the way that they simplified this. That's one of my biggest gripes about TouchWiz prior. Also, the keyboard is vastly improved. Actually, I haven't changed it to Google keyboard, which I usually do on all my Android devices, so this keyboard is surprisingly good. The Galaxy S6 is not free of lags though. I know some people have said, no, there's not a single lag on here. That's absolutely not true. There are some lags here and there. They're just minimized. So when you're using this device, you're not getting a lot of hangups here. The animations are smooth and everything that you would expect to run smooth on a flagship device is actually happening here. So this is a vast improvement over the Galaxy S5, which was lag city. On the software side, there are a few notable things that they've changed or added to TouchWiz, and some of the things I do like are the customization features. You can see there's themes right there, easily to get to, but themes are pretty scarce right now at launch, so I'm not using that very much. The themes are pretty ugly in my opinion. So hopefully that changes very soon and they add more. But the thing I like the most is probably the ability to change your grid size on the fly. And I'm using 5x5 right now because I think it looks best on this high resolution screen, but you can put as much or as little as you want to on your home screen. Even though I think the screen's a little too small for this dual window feature, it's so easy to add here. You can do it right from the multitasking tray, which is absolutely fantastic. So I think overall, with this nice hardware, with this slightly rounded 2.5D display, and the software is finally merging together, and in my 1 week experience, I'm liking it so far. Okay, so let's move on to my favorite subject, which is the brand new 16 megapixel camera with f1.9 aperture. Samsung's always had good cameras, but I think this one is probably their best yet. My favorite feature is the double tap on the home button to launch the camera, and that's super fast. Their camera software has also been simplified, which I appreciate. All of your modes are in one place. You do have slow motion and fast motion also in one place. But the best thing here is you have a pro mode where you have manual control over pretty much everything. And the one thing that stands out for me is the manual focus. So I'm really going to be enjoying this. All of this customization is limited to the photo side. I wish they would move this also over to the video side for people that want a little bit more manual control over the video. I also like at its highest resolution in 16 megapixel, it is 16:9, that's widescreen, which I really like, and the rear shoots Ultra HD or 4K video. One of the most important features on this camera is optical image stabilization, so they added that and it works fantastic. So let's go ahead and take a look at the photos, and it is extremely sharp, and even when you crop in, look at all of the detail that you get in this flower. Pretty incredible. The dynamic range is actually pretty impressive, but when you go into macro mode, you'll notice that the saturation kicks up a little bit and it does overexpose. When you take it into medium lighting conditions like inside of this restaurant, you'll see that it still has a lot of detail and the color replication is right, and I really like the way it looks inside too. The depth of field is very nice with this f1.9 aperture, and you can see how detailed this is, and you get that nice bokeh effect. This camera actually performs pretty well under low light conditions. You can see it's dusk at this park right now, and it's still picking up some nice detail without super overexposure. But when you take it inside under extreme low light conditions, it's gonna fall apart like any other cell phone camera will. But it's actually the only camera that I know that can pretty much compete with the iPhone 6 Plus right now. As you can see here though, there's plenty of noise when it comes to extreme low light conditions, but that's expected. So let's finish up with my experience with the 4K video recording. Now, for the most part, you're gonna be super impressed. It's really sharp, it's got great color replication, and even the dynamic range is impressive for a cell phone camera. But there are a few issues with it. I noticed that in motion, there is definitely some artifacting here, and in some harsh lighting conditions, and especially in macro mode, you're gonna find some overexposure issues. But for the most part, it is absolutely incredible what this camera can capture in 4K. So if you want to see a full video sample of cinematic 4K goodness, I'm going to leave that link in the description section below. I think your mind will be blown. Another inclusion that I loved on the Galaxy S6 is that it has optical image stabilization, and even though that you lose video stabilization in 4K, the optical image stabilization is absolutely awesome on it. So I think you'll be loving that when you are filming just with your hand, no tripod. I think you'll be very happy with the video that actually comes out from it. I think it's safe to say that this is probably the best optically image stabilized camera that I've tested so far. So overall, I'm extremely impressed with the camera, and it's definitely the best Android camera on the market right now, but I think it may even be better than the iPhone's camera. So subscribe to the channel because that video is in the works. Alright guys, well that about wraps up this video of my experience with the Galaxy S6 for 1 week. I guess you can call it a review because it's more like an initial review, but I'm going to be putting this Galaxy S6 to the test even more, and I will give you a follow-up review. So let me know what you guys want to see in that review if I didn't cover everything on here. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at SuperScientific if you have any questions, and make sure you subscribe to the channel for a lot more S6 coverage and also comparisons versus some of the biggest flagships out there, and give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.